Right, we are here in person today with Marc Hernandez. Marc, thanks so much for joining. Good to see you. So Marc, I've known for a long time. I'm really excited to have you on. And so Marc is manager for a couple of F45 studios. He's originally from New York, Queens, right? And got his undergrad in political science. Just found out, actually, your master's of public policy is in agricultural policy. Had no idea, which is interesting considering we're going to talk about fitness today, but it's all good.
Yeah.
Been in DC for how long?
8 years.
Nice. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So Marc, thanks for joining.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
So Marc, I always start. We're physical therapists that love to help people exercise. If you could only do one exercise the rest of your life, what would it be?
I have a clarifying question.
Okay.
Does HIIT count?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. It can be broad. Okay.
Some people have said yoga. Other people have said running. They can be broad.
Okay. I think HIIT, just because you can still do a lot of different types of movements within that structure. But if we're talking about like a specific type of workout, it'd probably be gymnastics.
Okay, interesting.
Gymnastics is like my favorite, like in terms of strength training and flexibility, mobility. I felt the strongest when I was focusing on gymnastics training.
Interesting. I've worked out with you a bunch of times and I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah.
All right, I like it. Do you still do any gymnastics?
Not as much as I used to, man. Like, I was just on the rings all the time.
Okay.
And I don't really have a spot for it anymore. There's not a lot of... Honestly, dude, it's weird because, like, I would just, like, find a good tree.
Okay.
Like, I can't find a good tree anymore.
That's funny. All right, whatever works.
Yeah.
All right, so you wanted to talk about fitness myths, busting fitness myths. We love busting health myths, so this is perfect for what we want to talk about. So first of all, tell us, who is the type of person, either in your current career or previous careers, who do you like to help the most?
Yeah, the people I like to help the most are people who are motivated by other people and not based on superficial things or for superficial reasons. So these people are the people who want to be a better parent, a better spouse, a better employee. They are looking to improve their own health and their own fitness for the sake of the people around them, because that they know that it's going to make them a better person in their social setting. And so it stands to reason that, like, the people I don't like to work with are people who are doing it for superficial reasons, like people who are just like, I just want to be skinny for this, and it's just like, no, you can go somewhere else for that.
There's a place for it, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But you love helping people who have a different purpose.
Mm-hmm.
What drives you with that?
What drives me?
Yeah, like why does that drive you?
That drives me because I've been a personal trainer for so long. All the people, I can't even say all, but most of the people that have been driven by just a superficial intention have often failed in their pursuit. And I think any personal trainer wants to be successful in what they're doing. Your motivation or people's motivation can determine how successful they're going to be. Like, it's just easier, right? Like, the amount of success I think that someone has when they're not focused on themselves is much higher, because you get more things done when you are doing them with other people and when you're doing them for other people. I believe that to be true. So yeah, I think part of it is like, I want to be a successful trainer, and I think that those people have more success in fitness than people who are focused on non-superficial means. But also, that's how I feel about my life. I feel that I do train to try to be 150 years old, But I train so that I can go hiking with my friends. I train so that I can do fun things with other people, because I know that my body is a very important vessel to get me to go out dancing or clubbing or whatever, whatever fun activity that I'm engaging in.
Yeah, I love that. I think a good message there is, if you have a fitness goal, it's often better to find a higher purpose or a higher meaning. Like, what's the deeper reason behind what that fitness goal is? We have that all the time. A lot of times people will come in and they'll say they want their shoulder to get better. Mm-hmm. And maybe they haven't had success with physical therapy before, and they'll say, yeah, I'm not great at doing my home exercises. Totally fine. Most people aren't. But if we find out, hey, they want their shoulder to get better because they want to lift their kid up and throw their kid in the pool, now all of a sudden we can dive into that motivation and be like, hey, do this shoulder exercise that's super boring, But if you do it, you're going to be able to play with your kid in the pool. Now we're talking.
Yeah.
So I think that fits perfectly with fitness. If you have a deeper meaning behind what you're trying to do, if you want to go out in the club, right? Like,
you got to be able to dance. You got to be able to stay on your feet for a few hours.
Exactly. So then now you've got to hire like a deeper purpose to actually show up into the gym.
Yeah, for sure. And what's interesting too is F45 just had this like campaign. It was like training for life. You know, this, the F in F45 is functional, right? So like, what does functional mean? Like, what is the function of you working out? And a lot of the videos are just that. You know, it's like someone being a parent, being able to like, there's like the medicine ball toss that they have at F45, and it was like a parent tossing their child up and down. And it's like, that makes sense. You know, when you train for life, when you train for something outside of yourself, not only do you reap the benefits of the training, but you're more likely to stick to it. You're more likely to be successful.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. So tell us briefly, what is F45 if anybody doesn't know?
Yeah, so F45 is a studio that does HIIT-based classes, and I would say it's all in the circuit training style, and I would say it is one of the most innovative companies in terms of fitness because it's always changing, it's always evolving. They take different aspects of training and just blend it all together. So whatever is scientifically proven, they're going to try to incorporate it into the programming. And I've seen it evolve. Like, I've been with the company for 6 years now, and I've seen so many different iterations of the programming. I think now is the best that it's been because it has variety. Like, essentially, the workout name does not tell you anything about the exercises other than whether or not you're going to be focused on strength or cardio that day. And even the name of the exercise or the name of the workout does not tell you what exercises they're going to be in that workout. So there's a lot of variety to it. So I think people who get bored with their workouts would love F45 just because you're training in you're using all these different types of methods, you know, body weight, kettlebells, barbells, dumbbells. You're using all these different methods to get stronger, and then you're using all these machines to build your endurance, like a rower, a skier, the bikes. You even run a little bit at F45. We don't have any treadmills, but you're just running back and forth on the turf. You're pushing the sled back and forth. Like, there's so many different tools and so much equipment that we have that really helps diversify the training, and they're always like adding new exercises to the exercise library to try to change it up a little bit, and also just promote that different stimuli that you get from small variations in exercises. So
yeah, I think that variety is awesome. People always ask me, what's the best exercise?
Yeah.
Or what's the best thing for me to do? Mm-hmm. My answer 100% of the time is whatever you will do consistently and whatever you'll enjoy.
Yeah.
Right. So what I always tell people about F45 or group fitness in general, the best thing is, variety.
Yep.
Every day is going to be different. Yep. For you guys, it's quick and efficient. Mm-hmm. I just went to F45 last week. I didn't tell you. I cheated on your studio, so I'm sorry. But it's quick and efficient. I knew I was going to get a great workout in. Yeah. And I just showed up and I didn't have to figure it. Somebody just told me what to do.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's also the group aspect. So there's encouragement, and I might be pushed a little bit harder than I normally would. So I think that's what the great things are about group fitness, F45, things like that.
One thing I didn't mention about F45 that I think is unique in the group fitness space is the way that the role of the coach in the space is your personal trainer in the group space. There are not a lot of group fitness spaces where you get one-on-one attention, whether it be form correction or someone trying to make the exercise harder, or just even something as basic as trying to get you to focus on your mind-muscle connection when you're gasping for air, or someone to even pace you, right? Someone to tell you to slow down because this is a minute set, not 20 seconds, and someone just trying to go Yosemite Sam out of the gate. And so those things in F45 coach is supposed to be able to do, and that is the service. That's their niche, really, when it comes to the product being delivered.
That's great. All right, so let's get into your favorite topic. Let's bust some fitness myths.
Yeah.
So let's start with your favorite. Which one do you love to bust the most?
It's a tie, but I'll start with this one because it's related to food and agriculture, which is what I studied.
Bring it all together.
So my favorite myth is that exercise is the best way to lose weight. It's not. The point of exercise really is to gain an adaptation to get stronger, to build more muscle, to increase your cardiovascular system or improve your cardiovascular system, your flexibility and your mobility. Like, those are just a few things. There's cognitive benefits of it as well, and cognitive adaptations. If you are trying to outmove a bad diet, you're going to fail 100% of the time. There's no two ways about it. I think that the way that we, society, media, whatever, has presented exercise, I think we've presented it as the way to lose weight instead of a pillar of weight loss. It has its place. It's a huge part of it, but what you're putting in your pie hole is the most important part. And so I have such a great time talking to people at F45, especially like during the challenge. Like during the challenge is like 45-day challenge to try to change certain behaviors and see how those behaviors impact your health, whether or not it be weight loss or muscle gain or even just like figuring out or changing your body composition in some way. And when I talk to people about diet, their thoughts are just like, I don't even want to say they're all over the place. They're just misinformed, really. And I think that they think that, oh, if I just come more, I'll start to lose weight, right? And I'm like, no, not really. Like, you burn more calories collectively throughout the week, especially if your diet stays the same. But what happens, especially with a high-intensity workout, is that you'll get hungrier and you'll eat more. And so you'll wash away all of the potential weight loss that you could have had from that change in diet, right? So people are really just not mindful, like how many calories they're taking in, what kinds of calories they're taking in, and I mean like their macro and micronutrients that they're taking in. And so, yeah, I think that is the biggest myth that I like to bust is that, hey, listen, without diet, without sleep, good luck trying to work out to lose weight, like, honestly. And also, like, stress management, like, good luck. It's impossible.
Yeah, I think that's awesome because I think what I took from that is there's tons of health benefits to working out. Mm-hmm. Very low down on that list is weight loss.
Yes.
And there's also so much research that shows as we age, it's so important to be strong, cardiovascular health. So really, I would assume, knowing you and me, like I want people to exercise to develop healthy habits the next 40 years, not if they want to lose weight over the next 45 days. So if we just associate working out with weight loss, then we only do it when we, quote, need to. Mm-hmm. But then also if we associate working out with weight loss and we don't lose weight, we're like, oh, that didn't work, and then I just stopped working out. Mm-hmm. And you're losing all these other health benefits, and you're not building those habits going forward. Mm-hmm. It's very similar, I think, to people who are on Ozempic or Wegovy. Those are miracle drugs, but there's a ton of research that shows people lose muscle when they're on them as well. Mm-hmm. So we can't just lose weight. We also need to strength chain as we lose weight. So I think that's an awesome message.
Yeah. I mean, what you just said feeds back into the original thing that I was talking about where your intention matters. To be honest, weight loss is too superficial of a goal. It can be important when you're obese and like your obesity is disabling you in a certain way, whether it be physically or like you're not able to play with your kids in the way that you want to play with them or something like that. It's important. I want to say like the majority of the population that's just like overweight and they like want to look better or they want to like be pretty and they see these people on Instagram or in these magazines that are like these fitness models and things like that, and then they automatically think, oh well, I go to the gym, I look skinny, I'll be good, like I'll be fine. But first of all, the likelihood of them failing is very high, and then also these expectations of it happening quickly, they're just doomed for failure. And again, if you're not thinking about the long term, and I think you could think about weight loss in the long term, but most people are not. Most people want to lose it quickly, which is why they're on Ozempic. But like, I think if you focus on weight loss for the long term, for your whatever, for the 30, 40 years down the road, I would say that that's not a superficial goal. That's a longevity goal, which is like, I don't think that you're thinking about yourself per se at that point. Then you start to think about the things that are possible for you and the people around you when you start to think about longevity. Strength is the same too, man. Strength, I think strength gains. People just like want to get stronger. They want to get more muscular, and they're like, hey, every time I go to the gym, I'm going to add 5 pounds to the bar. And it's like, yeah, that could work. You'll also probably injure yourself like pretty quickly that way. How about you just take it slower? How about you think about being strong in the long term? You know, how about you think about where can I be in a year or two from now, instead of I want to bench 225 in 2 months. And you're like, good luck, bro.
Yeah, I think that's great, because if you focus on the long term, kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier of deeper level goals. If you focus on the long term, you'll actually get to your short term goals.
Yeah.
But you're not focused on them.
Yeah.
And then you're more likely to keep these habits long term.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. All right. So love that one. What's the next? You said you had top
Yes.
2.
Yeah,
What's the second one?
The top 2 is actually about muscle. And this myth is maybe more geared towards women than it is towards men. One of my pet peeves is that women say they want to be toned. And I ask them, what is tone? And they describe a look. I'm like, yes, but what are you toning when you tone? And then I make them say muscle. And then they're like, right? And I think that realization that they have to increase their muscle mass in order to increase the look of the tone of their muscle, I don't think they ever make that connection. I think they only ever think about being skinny, and thus then your muscle appears more, right? Like you can see more striations in your muscle and things like that when you don't have as much body fat on you. And so then there's the one thing. And then the second thing is that they're going to get huge.
Bulky?
Yes, they're going to get bulky if they lift weights, right? And there's so many like funny comments that I want to make about this, but I'm going to refrain from them just because I want to get to the point that diet feeds back into this whole equation. Powerlifters. If you look at powerlifters, their whole goal, and Olympic lifters too, I would say actually up until a certain weight, but their whole goal is to be as strong as possible and be as light as possible for their frame, right? Because the strength-size relationship, it's a correlation, it's not a causation, right? So the bigger you are does not necessarily mean the stronger you are, but there is that correlation, and you cannot, even strongmen, right? Like these dudes are huge, but they're mostly huge because they're eating a lot. They're eating a lot because they're doing things that are so calorically demanding, and they need the extra muscle mass and they need the energy, right? So this myth is really kind of like two-sided, right? And on the one side, they don't want big muscles, right? On the other side, they think that lifting a 20-pound dumbbell 5 times is going to get them jacked. And it's like, no, you're like, there's so many variables that are in between. Lifting heavier weights will get you stronger. So increasing your strength will increase your muscle mass to a certain extent, right? That's why, but muscle hypertrophy is a different goal and it's a different task altogether than increasing your strength. If it were the case that the stronger you got, the more muscle you put on, and it was a 1-for-1, then these Olympic lifters would be way more jacked. It would be impossible for them to be the weight that they are and be able to lift the load that they're lifting in these clean and jerks, whatever they're doing, in their snatches. But it is true that there is some sort of correlation. So I think that women actually are not aware of what they want. They want to increase their muscle mass. They just don't want to increase it too much. And so they don't know how to approach that, right? They're not aware that you need to be putting in a lot in order to build, right? They're not aware of muscle protein synthesis, right? And in order to build new muscle tissue, you need amino acids. Is literally the building block of a new structure in your body. Without more amino acids, your body, the adaptation that your body will do is just get stronger. So I usually have to explain that to them, and they don't believe me most of the time. They think that I am like lying to them for some reason. And that also like, it freaks me out. I'm like, why do you think I'm lying to you? Like, and I think on the other side of the equation with guys, I think the myth that the guys have is that it's like ego lifting, right? All I have to do is be strong and I'll get bigger. And all I have to do is shove food down my face and I'll get muscular. Neither of those things are true, right? Like there's a certain point where excess calories is just going to make you heavier or just going to put on body fat. It's not going to increase your muscle mass. And then additionally, lifting more weight might just tax your muscles and or your central nervous system before it's actually ready. So I guess these are the bigger or the more comical issue for me is like the way that women think about muscle. And then I think on the other side that the other part of the myth is that guys just think that, oh, if I lift this heavy weight, then I'll start to get bigger and stronger. I'll start to get bigger instead of just stronger. And then they're kind of missing out on the fact that like, hey, listen, this is like a slower, steady process. And then also like what you're putting into your body to try to increase your muscle mass is the more important part of that equation.
So it goes back to nutrition.
Yeah.
So I'm of the belief that if somebody wants to look better, that's a great goal.
Yeah.
I'm totally down with that.
Yeah.
I go through that goal all the time.
Yeah.
So if there's this myth out there that I think from both sides, whether it's women or men, I don't want to get bulky, but I want to get toned. On the other side, I want to gain muscle. It's really hard and there's a lot of information. So if you really had to simplify it for people and they wanted to look better, or they wanted to build muscle, or they wanted to get toned, and really all just kind of boils down to the same thing. So if you had to simplify it for anybody that had some of those goals, what would you say are the big things they should be focused on?
It's a great question.
Because I think what happens when I see in physical therapy is people are way too focused on the small stuff that doesn't make any difference. People come in, they're foam rolling 15 minutes a day, they're doing this stretch, but they haven't actually unlocked what actually makes a difference. So for these people that have these fitness goals or body composition goals or just looking better, what are the big things that are going to actually move the needle for them?
Yeah. One, progressive overload.
Break that down. What does that mean?
So that essentially means that you are increasing the weight or the repetitions that you're doing over time. So you have to have a baseline first. One of the problems that I see at F45 is that people are just guessing. People just kind of like, I grab this weight, I grab this weight, instead of knowing how strong they are for each particular movement. And then over time, trying to increase the number of reps or the weights that they're using. And so a perfect example, we see a dumbbell chest press like multiple times a week, mostly because it's a simple strength exercise, right? So I'll see people start with maybe 15 pounds. Now let's just say this is women, or this is a woman. She'll grab the 15 pounds, and for one workout, the rep or the scheme of the workout might be that you're doing 2 sets and 2 laps. And they'll do the 15 pounds one day, they'll do the 2 sets, they'll do the 2 laps, they'll use the 15 pounds. At no point during those 4 sets were they struggling. They're playing it safe, right? That is not overload. That's you just going through emotion. The person who on the first 2 sets grabs the 15s and then the second 2 sets grabs the 18s will probably experience that overload, right? Especially if they're close to the first 2 sets. Like if they were close to fatigue or failure, then the 18 pounds will probably get them there, right? And yeah, we have 18s because it's in kilos, right? Because it's Australian brand. But the point still remains that like they're not necessarily thinking that way, and that's where the coach comes in, right? That's where like we come in and we have to apply our expertise to people because I want people to get stronger, right? So progressive overload is going to get you stronger, and it's also going to get you more muscular, right? Now, people also don't think about the speed at which they're doing the exercises. So another way that you could experience overload is by doing more repetitions. So every month we have a new cycle where the workouts will change. And the workouts, they'll have different exercises in them, but the timing will be the same. Also, the exercises are really just variations of the same exercise. So you probably will see a version of the chest press, right? So let's just say one workout, it is a flat bench press, and then the next workout, it's still a chest press, but this time it's on a balance trainer, right? You should be picking up the same weights for both of those presses. If again, the timing is, let's just say it's 40 seconds on, 20 seconds off. If that jump from 15 to 18 is too much, they should focus on trying to get more reps in the 40 seconds, right? If, in the first set they get 12, second set they get 14, try to go for 15. increase the speed at which you're doing the repetitions, and you might come to some sort of mechanical failure where you cannot lift or you cannot do another rep. Yeah, so that, I guess, is the basic principle of progressive overload.
Yeah, I mean, I think how I try to say it to people is, because people ask all the time, how do I get stronger? And I think all I've seen in the research is just get tired.
Yeah.
And that's how I try to simplify it for people. Yeah. And I try to tell people, if you can do more than 15 reps of something, pick a heavier weight.
Yeah.
If you can't do 5, pick a lighter weight.
Yeah.
And get tired. Right.
Yeah.
I tell people, you probably don't need to go to total failure, but just get tired in your set. If you feel like you still could do 6 more reps, you're not actually progressively overloading. Yeah. Right. So to really simplify it, what I tell people, just get tired.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. I think for like the thing that, not that I wouldn't say that, because I am going to say that to people now. So thank you for that vocabulary, or for that verbiage. But I think with strength and hypertrophy and muscular endurance being 3 different aspects of the muscle, I would tell people different things. So if someone was simply trying to get stronger and they're trying to overload, lifting slow might be a better option just for control, and increasing the weight that they're doing is going to be more important. If they're trying to increase hypertrophy, so the size of their muscle, they're probably going to want to use a heavy weight for themselves in that particular exercise, but they're going to want to get as many reps as possible with that heavy weight. You know what I mean? So the speed might increase. With muscular endurance, I really do feel like it is, the weight is, not, I don't want to say irrelevant, but if you can do 50 reps of something, like, that's pretty impressive. I think for runners, right, like squatting, let's just say a squat, right, or a single leg exercise, like a Bulgarian split squat or something like that. Doing a set of 12, is probably going to be in the hypertrophy range, which is, you're going to get your legs more jacked. But if you're trying to run, why not do 50? You're running for miles. You're doing more than 100 steps. You know what I mean? So the name of the game there is really, once you start to feel that burn, keep going, right? So that part I think fits perfectly into the tired thing, but I don't know if the go until you feel tired will apply for the people trying to gain strength in the same way. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think people will conceptualize it in the same way. At least I didn't when I thought about it.
I think it kind of goes back to, what are your goals for training? Train for your goals.
Yeah.
Are your goals to get stronger? Are your goals to have better mobility? Are your goals for better endurance for running? Yeah. So I think have your goals in mind when you're training, and then you can get more out of your training.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
100%.
So this has been awesome. So one myth, you can't work out a bad diet. Right? And then the other is, you don't have to worry about getting bulky, or toned does not equal too much muscle. Did I say that right?
Yeah. The second myth is about muscle.
Okay.
The second myth is, don't fear getting muscular.
Great.
I think, period. And then on the other side of that, learn how to get muscular. So it's like, there's like a fear on one side that you're going to get too muscular if you lift weights, and then the other side of it is like, people are not getting muscular enough because they don't know what they're doing.
That's a good point. And people, I think, are too far on either side of those, and both of those probably never reach the goals that they want to get.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's been great. So if you had to leave people with one piece of advice, or if you wish there was one thing your clients knew, what would that be?
I don't like repeating something that was already said in the conversation, but I'm going to.
I think repetition of a very important point usually tells people, hey, this is actually important.
It's actually important, yeah. It is to find the thing that you love to do. Do it over and over again. Do it at a time of day that you like to do it. And that requires setting boundaries with your family and your job.
And yourself.
And yourself, right? And do it with people. Like, that part is probably the most important part. There are probably way too many people who start a fitness journey by themselves. And obviously it's important for people to have like the same goals or similar goals when they're starting a fitness journey. It helps with adherence. But just having someone next to you while you're doing something just makes it like so much easier to bear. Especially in the beginning when things suck, when things are hard. I mean, we've done CrossFit classes together, right? Like, I absolutely love CrossFit. But there's a part in that workout where you're like,
It sucks.
it fucking sucks, but it's great when you have a partner. You know, it's great when there are other people around. It's great when it's over and you high five everybody, you know? That part really is, I think, like the part that doesn't get talked about enough in life.
Yeah, I think what I think is we often don't treat fitness and workouts like we do any other part of our life. Like if we go through a hard time in any part of our life, we lean on people.
Yeah.
Right? We call our friends, we call our parent, we call our brother, we're like lean on our spouse. And I think it's the same thing. If a workout's hard, lean on somebody around you. So I think that community is awesome.
Yeah.
So if people want to work out with you, obviously they can go to F45 Columbia Heights, F45 Silver Spring. Where else can people find you?
Instagram. Okay. My Instagram handle is La Vida Rica de Marcos or _ de Marcos, and you can see me doing cool things on Instagram. If you want to come work out with me, come work out with me. I do plenty of different workouts because I know cool people like you that get me into CrossFit, and I like boxing and yoga and all that fun stuff. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram, and
that's awesome.
pretty much it.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, no doubt.